Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. We are pleased to be joined by the head football coach at Crosswell, Lexington. If you don't know where that is up in the thumb of Michigan. Mike Holes, he is back as a head coach. Of course, he's been in this game for a long time. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good. You say I've been doing it for a long time, starting to feel old. I remember when I first started doing this and I was the young guy, and all of a sudden, dang, I mean, it's going on like 20 years now. So I guess I am getting to be that old guy.
But yeah, it's but anyway, this is it kind of goes back to a time where you returned to an area. And of course, for people that might not know, kind of just where of course you start off in Crosswell, Lex, and kind of talk about, when you were there and all that.
Yeah, so it was my second teaching job, actually. I started at Ovid Elsie in 2004. It was my first year teaching, and a friend of mine is Jason Vandermass, and he was the head coach at Crosslex. And he said, "Hey, we have a PE job open, and not sure if you're interested or whatever." And I came over and interviewed, and was teaching PE. I started the powerlifting program at Crosslex way back when, and I was coaching baseball and assistant football coach for a while. I met my wife when I was teaching and coaching there. She's from Crosslex. We spent 5 years there, and then as our family kind of grew and things, my stepson has to go to school in DeWitt, so we moved to the Lansing area. 2009, I left Crosslex. I went to Ithaca High School for a season. Was part of the first state championship out of, I think, 5 in a row that they had there, so which was pretty cool experience. And I don't know, felt like it was time to try to be a head coach. So I left Ithaca, went to Ionia for 8 years. All the whole time we had lived in DeWitt during that. And after 8 years at Ionia, I was an assistant coach then at DeWitt for 4 seasons. And had an opportunity to come back to Crosslex with family, and couldn't pass up that opportunity.
Yeah, and of course, also you have and then you got another state championship while you were there. I think in the COVID year.
Yeah, 2020, and I'm telling you, what an interesting season. With the start, stop. I mean, it was an opportunity for me to learn from a really, really good head coach, Rob Zimmerman, just about keeping your momentum and keeping your players engaged and keeping them together when it would have been easy to just say, "Hey, we're done," and kind of thing. So,
yeah. But of course, you're a head coach. When you left Ionia, did you think that you were going to be a head coach again?
No, it's kind of funny. Like, you go to DeWitt and you're coaching in, I mean, an amazing program, right? I mean, an amazing program. And you see how much work and time that Rob Zimmerman puts into coaching. And, I was talking to the defensive coordinator multiple times because we were pretty close friends and still are. And it was like, man, I just don't know if I could ever do that again. And I think it was more of like, didn't want to do it at DeWitt because who would want to follow up a guy like Rob Zimmerman? Like, that's what we were kind of talking about. So I didn't really think I wanted to, just because it would be so hard to follow him up, kind of a thing. So I really wasn't thinking it was something I wanted to do. And then when this opportunity came up, and we started looking at all the positives, my wife and I, and just the ability to be closer to our family and things like that. It was just too good of an opportunity to pass up.
Yeah. So of course, obviously you've been in this game for a while, so how this works. Just kind of talk about just getting used to being the head coach again. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's like, just pick up right where you left off 4 years ago. Did it take some time getting used to all that again?
It's this thing where every decision you make in your daily life impacts what you do as the football coach, because ultimately you're making decisions constantly on, you've got weight room this day, you've got 7-on-7 this day, you've got speed and agility workouts on this day, managing all of that with your own family. And I mean, I have two children, and they're involved in a ton of sports. And so, that was the thing I had to get back used to was, as the assistant coach, it was easy to be, hey, look, I can't make this, or this, because this is what we're doing. Now as a head coach, I mean, if you're not the one there doing it, it's just not going to be right, because you really want to be the guy, steering your ship and putting your culture in place. So, that was difficult, right? That was difficult. And it's still something that constantly is going to happen. I know that that's just part of the job, is the time commitment. So.
Sure. Okay. So enough about you. Let's talk about your team.
Yeah.
So this is, you're inheriting a pretty good team. I know, this is a team that has done historically well over the past, few years, but kind of talk about just what was it like just getting used to the guys and meeting all of them, and and also putting a staff together.
Yeah, getting to know the kids was great. I started teaching February 21st at Crosslex. I was able to move right into the teaching position that was there. We did morning workouts. It was a great opportunity to get to know the kids. We scheduled an in-home visit with all the seniors. I spent 30, 45 minutes or so in the evenings. We would schedule them, and I'd go to the seniors' house and I'd sit down with them and their parents. And, I had kind of questions that I needed to ask just as kind of conversation starters, some things I wanted to learn about them. But, that time sitting in their living room and just talking to those kids was an opportunity for them to get to know me to get to know them, but also that trust and I guess that trust and relationship with the parents as well, so that way they felt comfortable with, me being the football coach, that kind of thing. So those in-home visits were great. It was a great way to get to know the kids. We did our morning lifting then in the spring, and, we did a lot of team building stuff during that time.
Yeah. So I know that, coming in, what are some of the things that you've been able to do? I know there's been a lot of workouts, a lot of 7-on-7s, a lot of camp activities, a lot of team camps are probably going to be this week. But overall, what are some of the things that you've kind of done to get, with the morning workouts and stuff? What are the plans that you've kind of done since school got out in the summer?
Yeah. I saw, Scott Farley, who used to be at Leslie, and then he went to Jackson, and the guy's been coaching forever, and just a great football coach. And I remember hearing him at a clinic talk about how when he set his summer schedule, he wanted to play the absolute best teams possible in his 7-on-7s. And, I kind of took that kind of to heart. And then at DeWitt, we just do the 7-on-7 tournaments. And the thought behind the tournaments is it is ultra competitive. You're there playing to win, and you're there to keep score. And I felt like that was something that I wanted to do when I came to Crosslex. Number one, like we have very talented players for sure. So if we were to get into the big tournaments and things, we knew that that just talent wise, we'd be okay anyway. But just thinking about who is the best teams that we could go against, and that would help us then during the season. So, we've seen over 20 Division I kids at the skill positions this summer. And we went with Utica Eisenhower, Grand Blanc, Roseville twice. We beat a Ferndale team in a 7-on-7. I mean, it was we went down to Ohio, and we did a couple 7-on-7s there. We saw one quarterback that had already signed with Indiana. A slot receiver with an offer from West Virginia, a tight end that was an offer from Tennessee. Just the guys that we saw and went against was awesome. It was great, and we were competitive. We steadily got better in every one of our 7-on-7s. The Toledo one, we went there twice actually. It was kind of nice. We did an overnight trip in Toledo because Bowling Green and Toledo are very close.
Yes.
So we did a little back-to-back day 7-on-7 there at the tournaments they hosted, and we just got so much better, but we saw unbelievable talent at those, which was great. I mean, we played Mona Shores a little bit. So, just the kids that our kids have had a chance to go against this summer has been great. It's really going to help us when we get into the BWAC, and, all of a sudden now we're playing teams that are like us. We should really see a benefit from it. So. Okay.
So I think I just heard before we get to the schedule, now it's time to, now you get to say some names of a lot of this also tests how much you know the kids, some of the kids that to watch out for this year on your team.
Yeah, it's crazy. So over the 7-on-7 time period, we have built so much depth. I mean, to think that we're, Division 4, we're almost 5, and we were only 15 kids away from being 5. But we honestly feel like we're going to have anywhere from 19 to 20 different starters. Like our kids that are playing corner are not going to start at receiver. Our starting receivers are not going to start at corner. We have a couple kids playing slot and H-back that, I mean, they're just not going to start on both sides of the ball just because of the depth that we have. And we really feel like that's going to be a strength for us. Honestly, like, I mean, I could rack off 12, 15 names right now with some kids that are great. But, number one, things are going to start with our quarterback. Gavin Espinoza is a really good runner. He's learned a lot this summer with our passing game. He's had a great summer throwing the ball. Belly Groppe is our running back, and he's kind of the heart of our team. It's going to be nice to be able to have a kid you can just hand the ball off to. And he's, last year, Belly and Gavin were probably two of the best skill kids in the Blue Water area, and they're both coming back, which is phenomenal. We have an offensive lineman, Joe Ramsey. He's going to be a scholarship player. He's most likely that Division II type of a kid. We'll see if maybe he can crack into like the MAC or something as we get going a little further. But as an offensive tackle and defensive tackle, he's going to be as good as they get. Braylon Day is going to be our H-back inside linebacker. He's had a really good summer inside. Miles Levitt is going to be a corner who's just a scrappy, wiry, tough kid that plays with such an edge to him, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Here's a kid, Reese Riley, could not get on the field last year. He just couldn't get on the field last year, and he's had an unbelievable summer at corner. He's going to start at corner, and he's doing phenomenal. He's doing a great job. We have two twins, John and Bill Herman, and they're seriously 5'6", like 160, maybe 155, but they both are like 300-pound bench kids. They're starting at outside linebacker, and they have had an unbelievable summer. Man, I mean, you just keep going down the line with some talent that we have. And we really feel like as a Division IV school, our depth is going to be great. And our depth is what's going to carry us. I mean, we really are not starting more than maybe two kids probably both ways. And we're going to utilize a lot of different, personnel groupings kind of thing, just so we can use all these kids and their abilities.
Absolutely. So now it's time to, of course, you guys got a pretty good schedule as well. But, of course, starting off at home against Saginaw Swan Valley, and then I'm just going to run through it really quick. That, of course, is the 24th. August 31st, home against Richmond. September 8th, on the road against Armada. September 15th, home against Algonac. September 22nd, home against Yale. September 29th at Almont. October 6th at Imlay City. October 13th, home against North Branch. And October 20th, finishing off the regular season at Freeland. So pretty good schedule for sure. But is it going to get used to all these teams again?
Yeah. It's funny. So it's all the same teams that were, we played when I was there before. Obviously the league hasn't changed much, but some of the coaches have, and you look at the bookends, right? Game 1 and Game 9 non-conference. Swan Valley has been a really good program for a long time. Made a couple trips to semifinals and to Ford Field as well. So that's going to be a really quality opening game. Game 9 with Freeland. I mean, they've been right on the cusp of getting to that state championship game and just have kind of come up short. Their quarterback is a big kid. I believe he's got an offer to play at Harvard, I think it is, or is it Yale? So one of the Ivy League schools, but he's a really big, strong kid, and they're really good at what they do. So, you look at the non-conference bookends, and those are going to be some challenges. The conference, I'm not really sure how things are going to play out with the conference this year. I mean, there's some coaching changes, North Branch lost their coach. He moved on, and Jeremy's a really good football coach. So You're not really sure what's going to happen with North Branch. Yale's getting better. Garrett played for me when I was at Crosswell, right? Grunman, the Yale coach, and he's steadily improving that program. Almont's made a couple trips to a semifinal in Ford Field kind of thing. And so they've got a lot of tradition as a winning program. I think Armada lost a lot to graduation. this past year, although, their coach has done really well and kind of steadily building their program. So I'm not really sure how the league stuff's going to shake out. I just know, we've got to go and take care of our business each week and have our guys ready to play and, just kind of see how things go.
Yeah. Of course. Mike, just kind of talk about like what's the plan for the next few weeks, before camp starts on the 7th and then leading into that first game against Swan Valley.
Yeah, so we actually did our team camp last week. I had a couple coaches that had some conflicts. We were going to do it this week, but when so the former coach had their summer calendar stuff set, and guys made some plans with family stuff. And so when I set our calendar, they're like, "Oh, well, hey, and they told me," I'm like, "Absolutely, you guys got conflicts. You need to do stuff with your families this week." And so we did our team camp last week. So we've kind of used up our days that we're allowed for our camps. We have one 7-on-7 left. It's a tournament at Lansing Catholic on Thursday. It's going to be nice because it's going to be very similar teams to, who we are and maybe who we're going to play against.
Yeah.
So it's not, Grand Blanc, right? I mean, it's like third biggest school in Michigan, right? I mean, we played them last week, they're not going to be there. Not taking anything away from the teams that are going to be at Lansing Catholic, but it's similar teams that we're going to see during the season. So we have our last 7-on-7 on Thursday, and then we have the downtime. I take a vacation every year during that time. My wife and I get away, and it's nice because that's really the only time that we have a chance to do that. So I'll get out for a few days, 4 or 5 days during that dead week. And then, we come back August 7th and practice those 5 days. And then we do our community service project. We call it the Food Bowl. It's our inter-squad scrimmage on that Saturday, the 12th. It's cool because we're tying in with all the youth football. So from 2nd grade through 8th grade, they're going to do their scrimmage starting at noon, and they're going to just dip about a half hour. We're going to utilize both ends of the field. And then the JV will scrimmage, and then the varsity will scrimmage. But in the middle, before the high school team scrimmage and after the youth, we're going to get 2nd grade through 12th grade all in the bleachers and all of the cheer. We're going to do one big 2nd through 12th grade Crosswell Pioneer football picture. Everybody involved. We call it the Food Bowl because everybody who plays or comes to watch has to bring 2 non-perishable food items. So, we're going to fill up our local food pantry. It's just a good community service project for us to kind of give back. I totally stole that from when I was at Ithaca. They've done that for years.
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing to do. But now we're tying it in with the youth kids. So it's going to be great. Like when all the youth kids are done with their scrimmage, they get in the bleachers, the varsity and JV team will get in the bleachers, and we get one huge Pioneer family football picture with the cheer.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. We got our scrimmage the following week after that. We're going to Pinckney with Williamston will be there, and then John Glenn will be there. That's on that Thursday, the 17th. So that's a good scrimmage. It'll be good for us. So
yeah, it'll be fun. All right. Well, and then of course, leading into that game again on the 24th against Swan Valley. So should be a fun summer for sure. For the rest of it.
We had our golf outing today. 30 some teams. It was great. We had a great time, guys. We made some really good money as a fundraiser. We had all of our players out there with their jerseys working the different holes, closest to the pin hole. A lot of the guys out there. It was cool because the players were able to interact with the golfers, and the golfers were able to interact with the players. So we had a lot of community people there, and it was great. Just see that kind of interaction. A lot of times you do a golf outing and you don't want your players there, or, that kind of thing. You're not really sure of the environment, but it was awesome. The adults that were playing and our players got a chance to interact and talk. And I think that was a nice gap to kind of bridge there. So.
All right. Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and best of luck to you guys this season. We'll definitely have you on again sometime throughout the year.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.